Well, it is such a pleasure today to be with Harrison Brooks Fitch Jr., who is the son of Harrison or Honey Fitch, who arrived at UConn, then State College of Connecticut, or Connecticut State College, in the fall of 1932, and became the first Black student athlete in UConn history. And when he arrived, the only Black student on campus in stores. Sir, it's a pleasure to be with you and hear more about your father and his very significant historical contributions, not only to the university, but the state and really the country. Welcome, and we look forward to hearing about your father. Tell us about the man, because I understand he was a class person, well loved by everyone he met, and kind and graceful in all he did.
Well, you summed it up very, very well. He had a high level of character, a state of dignity about himself, and also a high level of strength and perseverance. Those were the key components that were critical to his being able to endure what he endured in 1932 and 1934. So he was prepared in terms of not just being an athlete, but having the character and the perseverance and the dignity to really make it through. So, and he was very kind. He was very generous. He was very serving. He really worked hard to help other people. And as he, of course, grew older, he worked very hard to help young people. So he was very serving in many ways.
Let's put in perspective that in 1932, this is 4 years before Jesse Owens famously won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics for the United States, 15 years before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball, 22 years before the Supreme Court ruling in Brown versus the Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools like UConn was unconstitutional, 32 years before the Civil Rights Act of 1964, your year of graduation at UConn, and also 34 years before Texas Western defeated Kansas with an all-Black starting 5 in the national championship in college basketball. For him to do what he did when he did, so long before those signature moments, what special significance does that mean for your dad to win over the supportive campus in the way he did before those signature moments?
Well, he was very, very proud of UConn, or Connecticut State at the time. He was very proud that his teammates supported him from the time he came in 1932 through 1934. His teammates supported him. They had a high level of respect. Of course, he won Best Athlete on campus 2 times in a row. He was very, very popular. He was also voted the favorite athlete in the state of Connecticut, which was a great achievement. So he was very, very proud of the support that he got from UConn. When you look at the times, it was all about what you can do to make something happen. And the students rallied around him in the time of crisis. And that 1934 incident that happened, which was obviously a racist incident, the thing about that was documented. A lot of other things happened to individuals like my father and others at that time that were certainly far worse. But this was documented. The incident was documented. As a result, it got a lot of attention. The students rallied around him. Connie Donahue, who was the captain of the basketball team at the time, he led an effort to get a vote to really find out what the students thought. And they overwhelmingly voted to fire the coach, to fire the athletic director. They really worked very hard for that. They got support from all around the country. Congressman DePriest from Illinois brought forth a resolution in the Congress of the United States of America that this was un-American, that Harrison Fitch needed to be recognized and acknowledged. Also, the Afro-American press, as they were called at the time, took this national. This went national within 7 days of the incident, which was very interesting. Today, everything is instant. Everything is real. It's live, if you will. But within 7 days, this story went national. The story was about Harrison Fitch, his character, the way he handled that, and also about the students at University of Connecticut or Connecticut State at the time, how they handled that, how they stepped up. So it was a very, very good story at a very challenging time.
certainly was. And the incident in 1934 at the Coast Guard Academy in New London was that the Coast Guard, which was at the time made up of a team from many members from the Deep South, refused to take the floor with your father as a member of the basketball team. Worth noting also, he was a three-sport star, but a member of the basketball team, and his teammates, as you referenced, were very angry. It's worth noting the coaches and administrators did vocally stand up for him, but ultimately conceded to him not playing in the game. And with the student body really exhibiting peaceful protest for the firing of the coach and eventually the administrator, and in support of your father, how important was that? That kind of example of peaceful protest, again, so far advanced ahead of the times of many other examples of great and effective peaceful protest.
Well, the best word I can think of is huge. That was very significant in 1934, and it would be significant in 2022. But it was particularly significant because it was a collaborative initiative, obviously. The students stood up. I mentioned earlier Connie Donahue. He, as I said, led the initiative for the vote. The alumni got very, very involved. Keene was involved in an alumni initiative that highlighted that. Then, of course, it went on to the Congress, went on to national press. So it was very, very significant. That was not done in 1934. You just did not see those kinds of things happening. So it was very significant for my father and our family, certainly, significant for the African-American community because that spoke volumes, and significant for the white students in that they were a part of it. It was a collaborative effort. It was a protest in the grandest scale of, you talk about human rights, you talk about civil rights, talk about social justice, talk about racial justice, all under this umbrella. And that manifested itself in the way this took place in 1934. So the lessons are that it's critical that we look at collaborative kind of efforts to support each other in protest, do our homework, get the appropriate attention, and keep persevering.
And I understand he was also always a proud fan of UConn athletics, especially the basketball program. Again, a three-sport star with football and baseball as well.
Yep.
You being a UConn alum and he being such an integral member of its history, what did it mean for him? What does it mean for you to see what UConn's become and think of the contributions of so many great Black student athletes through the decades now in this university's history? What does it mean to you to know that your dad was a pioneer for them and really the entire student body?
Well, very, very proud, of course. Very proud of what he accomplished as well as how he accomplished it. At the end of the day, what you find out now more than ever, character is critical. And because of his character and the way he carried himself, the way he carried on every day, that brought the support level that really allowed this to go forward. So despite any kind of obstacles or whatever it might be that might come on board to anyone, that's the message. And he is very proud, was very proud, and I am extremely proud of UConn now in particular. When you look at not just the athletes, but also what they are doing as leaders, it's all about contribution. Your contribution on the court or wherever it might be as an athlete is very, very important. But the real test is what you do off the court as well. It's your contribution that you make to others around you and to life. That comes back to the earlier point about when you look at it, he was on several teams. And in reality, life, for lack of a better term, is a team sport. You've got to be able to learn to work with other people. And we're trying to focus on things that get us to diversity, equity, inclusion. All these things are very, very important. And the way to do it is to persevere with dignity. And as he showed, to be able to work with other people.
I'd like to finish by going back to where he started from. I think it's always great to learn about somebody from their roots. And your father came from New Haven and Hill House High School, a city and a high school with rich tradition, both socially and athletically as well. What did his background from New Haven and Hill House mean to him that he brought to Storrs in the facement of the harassment and adversity that he faced to endure it with such strength and humility?
Well, when you look at it, he really brought the background of the African-American community, the background of his ancestors, what they gave to him. And he also brought forth the hopes and aspirations, particularly of the African-American community. When you look at what was happening then, as you saw, he was the only student, African-American student at Connecticut State at the time. He really was the right person at the right time. It had to be more than his athletic ability, because everyone knew what he would be subjected to. Now, as it turns out, Connecticut State was UConn was very, very receptive. But every time he went anywhere beyond the borders of UConn, it was totally different. So he had to have the right character, dignity, and perseverance. Just like Jackie Robinson, you notice in the books and in the movies and so forth, Jackie Robinson, they talk to him about that, about him being the right person, not just athletically, but he had to have the qualities to be able to endure and to thrive, if you will. So that was very, very important. And he had a lot of people around him, family and others in New Haven that were very inspirational to him. One in particular conveyed some of the qualities that we've been talking about. That was his grandfather, William Henry Singleton, who shared a lot with the New Haven community. He was a former slave. He escaped 7 times. He recruited 1,000 troops for the Union Army. He was recognized and acknowledged by Abraham Lincoln. And he shared with my father, as he did others, the importance of the qualities that we are talking about. So he provided an aspirational and inspirational model for my father, certainly, just as my father has done that for us coming along after him.
Well, Harrison Brooks Fitch Jr., the son of Harrison Honey Fitch, such an important lesson in history. Thank you so much for sharing your father's story and what he means to the university, to the state, and really to our country in the quest for equality. This was wonderful, and we appreciate your time, and we appreciate all of your family's contributions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.